Have you ever wanted to learn something new, like playing the guitar or maybe a new language, but you just get crushed by the thought of how long it's going to take? Well, get ready, because we are about to break down a blueprint that can get you, surprisingly good at pretty much anything in just 24 hours of actual focused work.
I think the biggest thing that holds us all back is this myth of the 10,000-hour rule, this idea that it takes a lifetime to get good at something. But what if that's just a huge oversimplification? Today, we're going to ditch that whole idea and replace it with a super practical 24-hour method that's all about getting results fast.
Okay, so how do we actually do it? Well, our whole journey is broken down into these 5 simple steps. This is the roadmap, right? This is how you go from 0 to, whoa, you're pretty good at that, really, really fast. And first up, we've got to redefine the whole problem.
So, step 1, just forget the 10,000-hour rule and find your purpose first. Think about it. Remember high school Spanish class? You probably sat there for 4 years, but could you actually speak it? Nah, probably not. But then you go to Mexico for a few weeks, and suddenly you learn more than you did in all that time. That right there, that's the efficiency gap, the huge difference between just putting in time and actually learning with a purpose.
So the secret to closing that gap is getting crystal clear. Before you even think about practicing, you have to answer 3 questions. What exactly do I want to be able to do? Why do I want to do it? And how good, really, do I need to be? You don't have to become a grandmaster at chess. Maybe you just want to beat your friend on the weekend. Getting clear on that changes the entire game.
And this right here, this is basically the magic formula. It's not just, I want to learn Spanish, it's, I want to learn enough Spanish to confidently order food and have a basic conversation by my trip in 2 months so I can actually talk to people. You see the difference? Purpose isn't just a nice idea, it's your accelerator.
All right, step 2 is all about understanding the battlefield. You have to master the learning curve. Why? Because if you don't get what progress is supposed to feel like, you're going to quit right before everything starts to click. And this S-shape explains it perfectly. Real learning isn't a straight line. It's got 2 critical phases. You've got the slow, kind of frustrating beginning where it feels like you're going nowhere. And then, suddenly, this explosive growth phase kicks in. Now that slow beginning part, that's called the tail. And honestly, that's where most people just give up. They'll practice here and there, a little bit today, maybe skip a few days, and they never build up enough momentum to hit that tipping point where it all starts to feel easy. So, what's the trick to blasting through that frustrating part? It's concentration. And it boils down to this one number, 90. You want to aim for about 90 minutes of focused practice every day. That sends a signal to your brain like, hey, this is important. Pay attention. And that commitment kicks off something neuroscientists call diffuse mode thinking. Basically, your brain starts working on the skill in the background, making connections even when you're not practicing. It's pretty cool. And get this, the other secret of the learning curve is that your biggest wins happen right at the start. So, look at Spanish, right? Just learning the most common 1,000 words gets you about 85% of the way to being fluent in daily conversation. The next 9,000 words, that only gets you another 10%. This whole 24-hour blueprint is about hitting that initial sweet spot where you get the most bang for your buck. Okay, that leads us right into step 3, deconstruction. This is how we build our strategy. Once you've got that clear goal, you need to smash the skill into its smallest possible pieces.
The best way to think about it is like a skill tree. At the very top, you've got your big, kind of scary goal. Let's say it's give a great presentation. That feels huge.
But that main goal is really just made up of smaller branches, right? Sub-skills like storytelling, how you design your slides, and your delivery. I heard this story about a guy who wanted to learn Spanish to get better at dating, but he kept focusing on memorizing vocab. His real problem wasn't his vocabulary, it was his confidence. He was watering the completely wrong branch of his dating skill tree. Deconstructing makes sure you don't waste time on the wrong stuff. This is so important that you should spend the first 2 hours of your 24-hour journey just doing this. Seriously. Research the people who are amazing at it. Map out all the components. And then, and this is key, pick the top 3 sub-skills that are going to give you the biggest result with the least amount of effort right now. Okay, on to step 4, practice deliberately. We figured out what to learn. Now we're going to focus on how to learn it. Because let me tell you, just mindlessly putting in the hours is not going to cut it. This quote from the source material is the absolute perfect example. So the guy is playing tennis, right? And during a break, his opponent is over on the sideline with a stack of index cards, analyzing every single point. Meanwhile, our guy is just daydreaming about Pokemon. Now, who do you think won that match? That opponent was practicing deliberately.
He was being his own coach, giving himself feedback in real time.
And that's the difference right there. Mindless practice is just repetition. It gets you to what's called the OK plateau, which is where you just stop getting better. You know, like someone who's typed for 20 years but still pecks with 2 fingers, or that one friend who can only play Wonderwall on the guitar. Deliberate practice is all about analysis and constantly pushing yourself into discomfort. That uncomfortable feeling, that is literally the feeling of your brain forging new connections. A really simple way to do this is the 40-20 rule. So, if you're practicing for an hour, spend the first 20 minutes just warming up, doing stuff you're already pretty good at. But for the last 40 minutes, you must push yourself into territory that feels hard. That ensures that every single session is actually making you better.
And finally, we've arrived at step 5. This is the glue that holds the entire system together. You have to build brutally fast feedback loops. Think about it. Learning just crawls to a halt when there's a huge delay between your action and getting feedback on it. Like imagine writing a whole chapter of a book and then waiting weeks to get an editor's notes back. By then you've forgotten your thought process, the context is gone, the lesson is just weak. That's a slow loop. It's terrible for learning. Now compare that to a fast loop. When you're studying for a big test, the secret isn't to do 50 questions and then check your answers at the end. No, it's to do one question and then immediately, right away, review the answer and figure out where you went right or wrong. That instant correction is what makes the learning stick.
And this all leads to a huge mindset shift. You have to start thinking of yourself as running 1,000 experiments. Every time you practice, it's not some high-stakes performance. It's just a little low-pressure experiment. Did that work? Why not? What if I try this? The faster you run those tiny experiments and collect the data, the faster you're going to learn.
So, there you have it. That's the whole blueprint. You start by getting super clear on your purpose. Then you commit to 90 minutes a day to get past that initial hump. You break the skill down into tiny pieces, practice deliberately with that 40-20 rule, and then you speed the whole thing up with fast feedback loops.
Look, this isn't about becoming a world-class master overnight. It's about becoming impressively good, incredibly fast. It's about proving to yourself that you really can learn anything you set your mind to. So the only question left is, what are you going to learn first?